Hey guys, how does an Orthodox athlete deal with fasting seasons? Can you keep your gains during Great Lent? Can you make progress during the Nativity Fast? These are good questions, and that's what I'm going to talk about in this episode, along with some training strategies to get you through the fasts. All right? There is a perennial question that I get asked by Orthodox Christian athletes that I'm going to answer in this podcast. Unless you're an observant Orthodox Christian, what I'm going to say probably is not going to be of very much interest to you at all. So this is for kind of a subset of my audience here. But again, I get asked the question a lot, so I feel obligated to answer it. We want to follow the practices of our faith, to be sure, and we want to be observant, but we also want to keep our gains, to play our sports, to make progress in the gym. How do we reconcile the two? How does an Orthodox athlete keep the fast? How will he or she train during the fasts? So that's what I'm going to talk about. We're going to cover some general considerations first. Then I'm going to talk about fasting. Then I'm going to talk about training. So let's dive right into the discussion. First off, some general considerations. In the first place, in my videos, I rarely talk directly about the Orthodox faith and its practices. My videos and my men's work is largely for a broader audience than that, and the issues I cover typically don't fall under the categories of faith and morals. My faith does inform what I say, but I don't attempt to speak on behalf of my church, and I don't set out to convert anybody through the work that I do here, okay? That's why I don't wear formal clergy attire in my videos, to make it more obvious that I am not speaking officially as a representative of the Orthodox Church. At the same time, I can bring two perspectives to this discussion because I am both a competitive amateur athlete myself, and I'm the spiritual father of other athletes in my congregation, and I know their needs. Second, do everything with the knowledge and the blessing of your spiritual father. And no, I will not be your spiritual father or your confessor, so don't even ask, all right? What I'm going to outline in this talk is a set of options you can discuss with him, and to where you can work out something that's to your benefit and that he's comfortable blessing, okay? Be careful with this too, okay? The last thing a priest wants to hear is, oh, but Father so-and-so on YouTube said. Just don't go there, okay? Or be very careful going there. And for my brother priests who happen to be listening to this video, I really do have your back. I have enough people in my own care. I don't need yours on top of mine. So let me do what I can to support you in your work. Number 3. If you have a coach or a trainer, keep him or her fully informed about what you're doing, because the fasts will likely affect your performance, and your coach needs to know that. Number 4, we need to take into account your level of athletic commitment. For example, are you a professional athlete? Is this your bread and butter? Is this how you put food on your table? Are you paid for being an athlete? Okay. If so, then definitely you're going to need to prioritize your business needs. Are you a competitive amateur? I mean, that's things like even high school track and wrestling, college basketball, competitive Brazilian jiu-jitsu, powerlifting, that you go to meets and competitions, all right? You might need seriously to prioritize your competition needs, all right? How about if you're maybe just a serious amateur? You practice your sport, or you go to the gym or to the dojo 3 to 7 days a week. Here it gets a little iffy, and there may be some relaxation of the fast that is beneficial and reasonable for you, all right? If you're a weekend warrior, don't ask to relax the fast. Just don't go there, all right? But seriously, take into account your level of athletic or sports commitment in everything that I'm going to say from this point on, all right? Because that's a really important variable there, and we need to be serious with it, okay? In the fourth place, when I'm talking about fasting, I am talking about the full traditional Orthodox fasting discipline, which means a strictly vegan diet, with shellfish included, if you like that, and one meal a day, usually taken later in the day. That is the canonical norm, and when I say fasting, that's what I'm talking about here, okay? Just to be sure we're all on the same page about what we're discussing, all right? Fifth, maybe, with your spiritual father's blessing, you can add in or substitute some other observance if your fasting discipline is relaxed. For example, maybe you could extend your rule of prayer in the morning and the evening. Maybe you can add in prostrations to your rule of prayer. Maybe you can engage in some charitable work or increase some almsgiving or donate your time to your church or to some other charitable organization. Maybe you could agree to attend more services, or maybe you could confess more frequently. All right, there's some things that you could add in that if you're not able to keep the fast strictly, there are other things you can do. So those are just a few suggestions. There's a lot more, but I don't want to belabor the point. Number 6. No, don't ask me what I do in my own exercise and dieting and fasting protocols, okay? I pay very good money for a coach who sets up all the protocols of my weightlifting, my cardio, my diet, my supplements, and my recovery. They are personalized to me and they are proprietary to him, so I don't talk about them. And as I've discovered in other videos that I've done, anything I say about my personal practices just open me up to public criticism and shaming by people who have their own agendas, and I just really don't want to deal with that. And then lastly, I need to say something about strictness and economia. When we're talking about Orthodox observance and the discipline of the Church, we have in our understanding this distinction between strictness or akrivia, which is the way the rules are set up, the way the holy canons lay down for us and the tradition, how it is we're supposed to live and behave, and economia, which is a relaxation of the strict discipline so that the expectations and the observance of our faith doesn't become too burdensome for any individual Orthodox Christian. So, for example, this fulfills Christ's injunction against the Pharisees, where he says, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, because you lay on men burdens too great to carry, and you don't lift a finger to help them." Well, in the Church, we're not going to lay on people burdens too great for them to carry, so we allow a relaxation of some of our discipline to where it's something that you can still do, but that is not so heavy that it breaks you or it causes you undue hardship, okay? And this is the first point about strictness and economia. It is a relaxation of the strict discipline. It is not its abolition. So we're not simply, if we're going to talk about fasting, we're not simply saying, oh, well, I'm an athlete, I'm not going to fast, and we chuck the whole thing. That is not what we're talking about here, and that is not what I'm advocating in the least. All right? Economia should be as minimal as possible. That is, we need to relax the expectations of Orthodox observance just enough to where it's something that you can still do and you can derive the benefits from, but it's still a relaxation to where it fits your needs and fits your lifestyle and helps to lift you up rather than to be crushing or overly burdensome to you. Okay? We do not set our own measure of economia. You cannot decide for yourself how you want to be observant as an Orthodox Christian. We always work this out in conjunction with and with the blessing of our spiritual father. Okay? And also, there is no precedence in Orthodox practice. Just because Father says Billy can do such and such does not mean that you get to do the same thing. All right? Economia is always personalized to the individual. So you need to speak to your spiritual father about your unique situation, and because he knows you and your circumstances, he can bless something that's appropriate for you given your lifestyle. Okay? So that's enough by way of preliminary considerations and all. Let's go on and talk about fasting. Okay, Orthodox fasting and the Orthodox athlete as well. All right. What I'm going to say here is that fasting needs to be tailored to your physique, your daily calorie expenditure, your energy levels, and your performance. That is, the church doesn't ask us to fast until we faint. And if you are unable to do your job, or if you're unable to do your job and maintain your sport, then it's probably good to talk to your spiritual father that perhaps the fasting discipline that you're following might be too strict for you. Okay? I'm sure you know that the FDA recommendation of 2,000 calories a day does not cut it if you're a serious athlete. Okay? Orthodox fasting discipline assumes the norm of the average person, monastic or lay, okay, and not the serious competitive or professional athlete. For example, the first time I had to deal with this issue ever, I had a high school athlete. He was in track and field, and he was a long distance runner, and he came to me like 2 weeks into Great Lent and says, "Father, we're practicing now. I'm a long distance runner," and I'm like gassed halfway through my runs. How am I supposed to get through 12 miles if I can't get through 5 or 6? And we determined then that if he was going to, be a serious athlete, that he needed to eat some more. And so we worked out something to where he could get some more calories in and was able to complete his sport. All right. That was the first time I had to deal with questions like this. And I think we worked out something that was reasonable. If you're a 230-pound linebacker, you're probably not going to get by on one vegan meal a day. Okay? So you need to ask yourself, how many meals do you need to meet your caloric needs? All right? Protein and energy needs are going to be paramount for any athlete, right? So energy, carbs are fairly easy to get during the fasts. In fact, too many carbs is an issue for some people who don't really know how to balance their meals, and they end up living on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, or they eat a lot of starchy foods like potatoes and rice and pasta because they're not real good in the kitchen and how to round out their diet better. So sometimes we have to watch carbs a bit. But getting in enough protein is usually the problem in the Orthodox fast. So what can we do? Okay. In the first place, there are vegan athletes out there, and some are successful. So research what they do. I'm not a specialist on this area. I can't advise you on exactly what to do for a vegan diet. There are good vegan cookbooks out there too. And in recent years, as veganism has become more popular as a diet or as a lifestyle, the food options that are available to us nowadays are really spectacular. So there's a huge variety of stuff with a huge consideration for its nutritional quality as well. So you might be able to find some good vegan substitutes for your protein needs and meet them just fine. Okay, so look into that and see if that's a realistic alternative for you. Okay, I will say on the negative side that cost can be a factor. Sometimes vegan foods, because they're smaller batches and made for a smaller population, or can tend to be a little expensive. So it might not be cheap to go the fully vegan route. Okay. And I'll throw in this caveat also as well. If you're looking at vegan athletes on social media, okay, the successful ones, consider that they might be genetically gifted as well. They're usually young, and younger athletes can get away with having a much looser diet than us older athletes can. Okay, they may have higher hormone levels naturally. They gain or retain muscle easily. Keep that in mind. When you see fit young social media influencers selling a particular lifestyle or a training system, and when you're looking for realistic options for yourself. Okay. Now, if in keeping the fast strictly, you can get your protein from shellfish. All shellfish is legitimate and kosher, if you will, for an Orthodox fast. So shrimp, scallops, clams, crabs, lobster, all of that kind of stuff is perfectly allowed there. On the plus side, it does keep the parameters of the fast. So if you like that stuff and can eat it, God bless you. On the downside, shellfish can be very expensive, and that might be a real limiting factor for you. Okay, and not everybody likes it, like me, and not everybody can eat it. There are some people who do have allergies to shellfish, so that might not be a reasonable option for everyone. The next best thing that you could do if we need to relax the fast, it would be to add in fish. And I would suggest, just as an option to discuss with your spiritual father, maybe allowing fish on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, and keeping the fast strictly on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If that isn't sufficient, try to get a blessing to have fish daily. All right? Next, I'd suggest keeping the whey. A lot of strength athletes and gym goers, supplement with whey protein. It's not ideal. Again, we're talking just for 6 weeks, and it is a quick and easy way to get in all the essential amino acids without going to meat. Okay? Now, for the professional athlete or for the competitive amateur, even that might not be enough. So the next place that you will want to consider would be to add in chicken. Again, I would recommend keeping the fast strictly on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but perhaps adding in the chicken on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. See if that's enough. Again, for some sports, for some bigger guys, some stronger guys, it might not be enough. Again, always discuss it with your spiritual father. And notice here the progression that I'm taking. First, vegan protein sources, then shellfish, which are consistent with the fast, then fish, then whey, then chicken. We're trying to keep the demands of the fast as much as possible while meeting our caloric or our athletic needs. And again, this is that economia where we're trying to relax the fast just enough to meet our needs and still observe it as much as we possibly can. Okay? Again, do everything with the knowledge and blessing of your spiritual father. Maybe something you might ask is, maybe you could ask if you could keep your meal plan as your fasting discipline, if you have a strict meal plan given to you by a coach, for example. And then if you fall away from your meal plan or you don't stick to that, then maybe you take that as a sin and you bring that to confession. That might be a possibility for you. But what if your spiritual father won't bless a relaxation of the fast at all? Okay? Then you got a problem. You got a moral quandary here. Okay? Each of us makes moral calculations all the time. What will your conscience say? And what is it that you're willing to do? I can't answer that for you. That is up to the individual conscience of each man and woman. And again, try to do these things with the blessing of your spiritual father if you can. All right? So that's a consideration of fasting. Point 3. How do you train during fasting seasons? If your training is sport specific, I don't have much to tell you. Talk to your coach, explain the situation, and then do what he or she says for you to do. If you're pumping iron in the gym, like many of you probably are, I do have some considerations to help you keep your gains. All right? First off, we need to remember you are not going to gain muscle or strength or size during a fast. Just be reconciled to that idea. Okay, what do we do then if we're not getting bigger? Well, what you do is you plan out your training goals to accommodate the fasting seasons. You know that Great Lent is coming in late February or early March. You know Dormition Fast is the first 2 weeks of August. You know that Nativity Fast is starting on November the 15th. You know that they're there. Plan around them. What do I mean? If you use training blocks, for example, in your programming, maybe you train for 4 to 6 weeks for strength. Maybe you train for hypertrophy for 4 to 6 weeks. Then maybe you work on volume for a certain number of weeks. Maybe you bulk in the winter and cut for spring and summer. Then plan on your fasting season simply being a maintenance block. Okay, if you're not going to make gains, and you won't, then you want to train so that you can hold on to everything that you've built, all right? So you need to modify your workouts to accommodate the fasting season. You will not have the energy or the calories for high volume training. You're simply going to get gassed. So drop the volume. That's the easiest thing to do. Try to keep lifting the same weight. Try to keep your strength up. But instead of doing sets of 8 to 12, maybe you'll only be doing sets of 4 to 6, because that's all you've got the energy for. That's okay. Just try to hold on to the strength Again, this is only for 6 or 7 weeks. Hold on to the strength as best you can. And we'll talk in a moment about what you do after Pascha or after Nativity when the fasting season is over. Okay? Instead of working multiple sets for a given exercise, instead of doing 4 sets per exercise, maybe you only do 3. Maybe you only do 2 working sets, for some exercises. Be sure that you prioritize the compound lifts and those lifts that give you the most bang for your buck. If you're not going to have a lot of energy in the gym, you want your workouts to be as efficient and as effective as they can possibly be. So don't spend a lot of time on supplemental work, on ancillary lifts. Focus on the main lifts, the big compound lifts that do you the most good. All right? And it's true, some loss of strength is probably inevitable. As you get further into the fast, you might have to drop the weights just a little bit. Try to hold on as best you can. But if you need to, go ahead and lighten the weight load a bit so that you can continue to get good quality sets in your workout. Believe me, it's for a limited period of time. And once Pascha comes, our Nativity Fast, after the fast, when you can resume your regular diet, then you want to up the volume in your workouts again. Fasting seasons prime you for serious anabolic growth. Post-Pascha gains are real, brethren. So are post-Christmas gains. So you want to take serious advantage of Bright Week and the weeks following Pascha and Nativity in order to work out really seriously, hit the gym hard, eat optimally again, and you'll find that you'll realize some really nice gains from that. So, don't see the fasting seasons as completely negative. They will prime you for new growth once the fast is over. All right? And again, the last thing I'll say is do not undertake any of this by yourself. Do it in consultation with your spiritual father. Everything that's done with a blessing will be more successful than what we undertake out of our own self-will. And be sure and keep your coach informed whenever you change your diet, one way or the other. All right, so that's kind of it. Balancing Orthodox observance and athletic performance can be done. The two goals are not always orthogonal. They're not always going to line up exactly, either in their methods or in their goals. So it's likely you're going to have to compromise somewhere. Where and how you do that is going to be up to you in consultation with your spiritual father and your coach, if you have one. God's blessings on you for both endeavors, to be the best Christian that you can be and to be the best athlete that you can be as well. Thanks for watching. If you would, please like this video and leave a comment. I love hearing from you. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done that already. And in the show notes below, there are some links to my other social media sites. I'd appreciate it if you would follow me there as well. Drop your email on my website so you can keep up with all the great content and programs that I plan to introduce in the coming weeks and months. And I'll see you around social media, and I'll see you in church as well. So thanks again for watching. You have a great day.